Hi there, welcome to this special edition of Studio 5. For the next half hour, we're taking you inside the film Wild Robot. We're going to sit down with the film's star as well as the screenwriter and director. Let's begin with the star, Lupita Nyong'o. She plays Roz 7134, a robot who finds herself in the middle of the woods, trapped with some animals and a special baby goose.
Hello. I am Rosm 7134.
This gosling is yours.
Negative. That gosling stalks me, emits noise, and makes simple tasks more complicated or impossible.
Yeah, they do that.
Did you spend a lot of time listening to Siri and Alexa at home to get us started?
Yes, bingo! I did.
Taking care of him is your task now.
Task acquired. Brightbill is where he belongs.
I listened to a lot of automated voice sounds, and Siri and Alexa were some of them, as well as the voices on TikTok and Instagram. And what I felt was the same, or they're all very optimistic voices, very bright, and that definitely inspired my voice.
I miscalculated. I should have considered your emotional wavelengths. Do you have any information on how to take care of this unit?
They all need to eat, but yours needs to swim and fly.
Why does Lupita as Roz 7134, a robot, make us cry?
Well, I think Rosm 7134 makes us cry because, number one, she doesn't have facial expressions. What she has is a mission to be of help. And we get that from the very start of the movie. And she goes about trying to do that. But in order to do that, she's a fish out of water. She's an alien in this environment, and she has to adapt to it in order to actually finally achieve her goal.
Processing.
And I think we cry because we recognize how we recognize that, like, the importance of adaptation in order to survive, but also the importance of staying true to yourself.
And I am a wild robot.
Sometimes adaptation seems like it's going to annihilate us, but in this story we see that it's not the case.
I feel like we hear that journey in her voice from beginning to end, because the Roz we see at the beginning and hear at the beginning is not the Roz we see and hear.
Yeah, and that was very deliberate. One of the first conversations I had with Chris, I asked him, why me? Why me for Roz? And he said he liked the warmth in my voice and what he felt it could express. So we always knew that Roz would end up in her fullest, most individualized state, sounding more like me. And then we kind of like reverse engineered it. So that first Siri-like Alexa programmed optimism sound is her factory settings. And then we worked to very, very slowly and subtly color her in with her humanity as she adapts to the island.
Remember, there is nothing he can do that you can't.
This release is on the heels of quite a different release. You're taking a hard turn from A Quiet Place
Yes, I know, yeah.
to this.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've been very intentional about doing projects to reach out to children and younger people, from your book to doll to you name it. Why? What's driving that intention to reach, especially young girls? I have a daughter, so especially young girls. What's driving it?
Well, I like children. I like them. I have always loved children. Like when I was little, I was the child that wanted to babysit my little sister and not go out and play. I've always loved children. So I've always gravitated to them. I always wanted children of my own. So I think there's that. But then I also think that the work of being an adult is healing your childhood wounds. So I think that in working at things that are for children, I heal my childhood wounds.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is most satisfied and 1 is least, how would you rate my performance? I will register that as a 10.
Wild Robot opened at #1 at the box office, and it's still in theaters right now for you to check it out.
Aggression detected.
Still to come, our special look at Wild Robot continues. Next up, the screenwriter and director.
Everybody on this production exceeded what they needed to do. There was just something about this project that was different.
And welcome back to this special edition of Studio 5. We're continuing our look at the film Wild Robot. Next up, we traveled to New York City to sit down with the film's screenwriter and director, Chris Sanders.
Hello, bonjour.
Guten Tag, Ujambo. Hola.
Congratulations on your purchase of a Universal Dynamics robot. I am Rosm7134. A Rosm always completes its task.
So finish this statement for me. A robot is dropped in the middle of the wilderness and
its programming takes over, and it starts to do what it was programmed to do.
Just ask.
But it doesn't yet know that it's not where it's supposed to be. And because of that, it's going to end up changing everything about this island and everything about herself.
Do you need assistance?
I've heard you say this is one of the easiest films to make, but one of the most emotional. Why?
There was something about this that I cannot explain, except to say that everybody on this production exceeded what they needed to do. There was just something about this project that was different. Everyone like fell in love with it, really. There was a moment where I was looking at an effect shot, and it exceeded what it needed to do. And I turned to my producer and said, "Why does this film look this good?"
Wow.
And he said, "People love this film." And everything from the voice performances to the engineering that allowed us to get this look, which is groundbreaking, to the music. Everyone like went way beyond on this thing, and and nobody wanted it to end. That's the thing, is that, I mean, these are huge productions that take many years, about 3 or 4 years, but that's a lot. And you usually always, by the end, you're like, I'm ready for this to be done, let's finish it. But not this one, nobody wanted it to end.
Take me back to the beginning. So you see a description at DreamWorks for this, the book.
Yeah.
What's that process and length like from that moment to us sitting here now?
I first saw it when I dropped into DreamWorks looking for my next gig, and I was looking at what they had in development, and they literally laid a bunch of stuff out on a table, and one of the things was the Wild Robot book. And the moment they described it, there was no question. I was like, this is the one I'm interested in. When I read it, it confirmed that this was magic, and I wanted to take it on.
Lupita has said that when she was approached to do this, she asked, why me? So I'm gonna ask you that question. Why Lupita to be Roz?
Our casting director, based on the character, said Lupita is the choice. Initially, it was the sound of her voice. She's a great actor, and her voice is beautiful. What I wasn't aware of was how incredibly inventive and how much she devoted herself to this character. It's a complex character, and she immediately started to talk about, well, why does Roz do what she does? She questioned a lot of things because she needed to understand it, and we together crafted Roz. She's a complex being, and we worked very hard, but Lupita took the lead in inventing this character and deciphering the engineering inside of Roz's head and her thinking patterns.
This is already being called the best animated film of the year. Are you paying attention to that? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel really good. I think because I know how much went into this, and how much love went into this, and how different it looks. And I'm gonna start to cry. People worked so hard on this and did so much. More than they needed to do. It was unique.
In terms of the look, there's some hand painting going on in this. How does that work?
100%. I'm glad that these images are next to us, because usually we wrap geometry with surfaces, with patterns and surfaces to try to make things look organic. There's no substitute for a human hand. You can't top a painting. And when CG came along, We got so many wonderful things, but we lost touch with what I would say an analog warmth that only comes from a hand-painted thing. Think Bambi and Tyrus Wong's art, and My Neighbor Totoro, and the environments that were hand-drawn in that. And we've been fighting so hard to get back to that kind of analog warmth. And we got to the point with this film that we didn't need geometry any longer. They could paint dimensionally. And I went to a demonstration where a painter sat at a station, and I watched an environment, a plant, get painted. And they turned it and painted and turned it and painted it. So every tree, every surface is made by hand. And you'll see that in this, see there's little blobs of color that just float in the air. Mm-hmm. There's no geometry under it. It's just paint. It's impressionistic. Yeah. And the effect that comes from that, there's no substitute for that. The weird thing is it's more real. It's like when you go to a gallery, I do, and I get really close to paintings, yes, and it just becomes abstract. Mm-hmm. And the more you back away from it, you back away from a Monet, it goes from being these little blobs of color that are nonsense to suddenly it's a garden. And that's what's going on with this film. Even the characters have hand-painted surfaces. So the entire thing, quite literally, is a moving painting. And it needed to look that way for this particular story.
Chris Sanders has a long career in animation. His film credits include How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch. Still to come, a lot more in this special edition of Studio 5 as we continue our look at Wild Robot.
It's right there! The monster! Every second of it is thought out by people who are doing beautiful work.
And welcome back to this special edition of Studio 5. Right now, we're going to take you up close and personal behind the scenes of the film Wild Robot.
Incident report. At 0300 hours, a number of Universal Dynamics robots were lost in a typhoon. Chance of recovery is unlikely.
The Wild Robot is about a robot who has found herself on this island and doesn't really know what her purpose is.
Oh, okay. Hello. This Gosling is yours.
Because she knows nothing but to do the job she was intended to do, she goes about trying to be of help to these wild animals. And in the process, she has to learn to be more than she was programmed to be.
My communication package includes strategies for conflict resolution.
Lupita, in particular, is the soul of this movie, much as Roz is. Lupita inhabits that character in a way that lends itself to all these great, deep emotional moments that we get to experience.
Tell your people not to worry.
Then when you see it in the movie and the looks, the eyes, I mean, it's just incredible.
I do not have the programming to be a mother.
No one does. We just make it up.
Her kindness ends up being her superpower and uniting the animals of the island in a time when it matters most.
Are those your parents?
I know predators, and those are predators.
I do like doing animation because, like all sort of creative processes, it starts off being very small and very kind of minimal. It's just me in a box with a mic, and then a year down the line you see what that turns into.
It's right there! The monster! Every second of it is thought out by people who are doing beautiful work.
Allow me to introduce myself. I've always had an inkling how much work goes into these kinds of experiences. It's no surprise, but I still am fascinated about how much goes into it from so many different levels.
That Gosling stalks me, emits noise, and makes simple tasks more complicated or impossible. It has been fascinating to have a front row seat to the process of making Roz and the world that she lives in.
The book and the film go to very, very deep emotional places, and we felt we wanted the art to embody that.
Rosums are programmed for instant physical mimicry, so as to...
With something like this, which has great scale and grandeur, it would be a shame to limit yourself to a small iPad or a small screen.
This is a story about belonging and how you seek it when you find yourself in a foreign world.
The love and kindness that Roz learns is what, eventually kind of helps them succeed in the film.
What are they saying?
They want me to come with them.
Tell them you're already home.
I do think they'll see something they haven't quite seen before.
Hello!
Yeah, it's very moving, and it's funny. I think it's got everything.
I am already home, thank you.
You do not belong here. This is a wilderness.
It's a very inspiring, powerful story.
Roz is an unrelentingly kind character.
And I am a wild robot.
The more damage she takes, the better she gets, the more she learns. And I think that's the message from this movie that I hope everybody would take home with them and that would resonate with them, is that your character can withstand a lot and it can be better for it.
Sometimes, to survive, we must become more than we were programmed to be.
Stay with us for more. Wild Robot is in theaters right now. Trust me, you do want to check it out. And you are back with us in Studio 5. As you know, music makes this show happen each and every week. And this week, quite naturally, we're listening to the soundtrack of Wild Robot. Take a listen and you'll hear why Maren Morris's Kiss the Sky is what's playing in my ear this week.
An unfamiliar road could be the same place you get lost and find yourself. There might be bumps, there might be bruises, but at least you'll have a story to tell. Time will slip on by if you're stuck in living life with too much caution. And I know you know that those wings, they were made for walking. Always safe where you are, but safe only gets you so far. What if you look your fears right in the eye? Say you'll see them another time. What if for once you can find a piece of you that you've been hiding? You've been hiding. What if you chase your heart out to the edge? Rewrite your stars and be brave instead. What if you jump and the falling feels a little like you're flying, like you're flying? Oh my darling, if you try, you just might kiss the sky.
On that musical note, we are just about out of time for this week's edition of Studio 5. We do have time for one more thing. Let's give that to Academy Award-winning actress Lupita Nyong'o.
I've heard you say that you live life in gratitude and allowing for bounty.
Yes.
What does that mean? Explain, if you don't mind.
I feel, first of all, it's a lesson I learned from my mother. She was inspired by the prayer of Jabez, and that talks about increasing your bounty. I think that sometimes we are so poised for struggle and strife that we sometimes do not allow for the blessings. It's almost like to ask for more is to be greedy, it's to be selfish. And so we can sometimes kind of limit our blessings. But the lesson my mom taught me is that there is always room for more blessings. That if you believe in a God, he is not punitive. He's not a limited one. The idea that there's enough to go around, and so if you've been blessed, you can be blessed more. It's also about being content where you are, but also allowing for more, because there'll always be struggle, and when that happens, it is your bounty that will see you through.
Lupita, that is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and for this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back. See where Studio 5 takes you next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.